So, recovery does not happen in isolation. Parenting and recovery often happens at the same time, and many systems are not built to support these people. So, parents shared that when they are healthy and supported, their children benefit too. Family well being is prevention. Supporting parents is one of the most effective ways to support children and strengthen our community. So, like Ashley mentioned, these insights come from our listening sessions that we did in 2023, which were a continuation from listening sessions we did in 2021 with people in recovery. And so, again, we are just lifting up the voices of those people, and so how we can better guide and support families in our community. So parents talked about a lot of different things, and so that often encompassed the dynamics of families and focusing on the recovery. So many of these parents were in treatment or early recovery, which can be very overwhelming. I'm not a parent, I'm not a person in recovery, and that sounds like a lot just to have those multi-layers on top of each other. They described juggling appointments, making sure they could get to their meetings, and taking care of themselves at that same time. This can lead to isolation and stress. And when parents are highly motivated to do well, these system level changes, they're not personal failures. So highlighting some of the barriers that we saw from parents over and over again. And I feel like this is not going to be a surprise to many people, but housing instability came up pretty often, especially the lack of family-friendly sober living or transitional housing. Transportation barriers, we know that's a huge thing as well. How do they get to their appointments? How do they get to their meetings? Childcare, I think this is huge. So this can be trying to get to their appointments, therapy, or even their recovery meetings. If somebody doesn't have that support, what do? Parents also described a stigma between systems like our schools, CPS, and our court systems. And so this creates a lot of fear and hesitancy for people wanting to ask for help because of these systems. I think this is one of my favorite quotes from the listening sessions that we did. I was afraid to get help because I didn't want to lose my son. So gaps in our local systems. So parents identified gaps in our local supports. So we need more recovery-friendly options and spaces. So that means specifically during the weekends or evenings. I love solutions. I can see, Megan, how you guys have your events where you put on for people, and it can just be a space where you can have Christmas or celebrate holidays together. We need peer spaces together that are specific for parents in recovery. Many parents share that transitions after treatment are especially difficult, and they need a little more support during this reunification time. These systems are often separate and forcing parents to navigate this alone or with little help. Yet, despite all these challenges, parents demonstrate an incredible strength. So many shared a strong desire to reconnect with their children and rebuild that trust. Hope was a powerful motivator. Parents expressed a deep commitment to being healthy, present caregivers. When safe and supported environments exist, parents are willing to reach out and engage in these services. I feel like if you haven't gotten the gist of today, this quote, "The community is why I'm here," this is why we're all here today. So connection came up again and again. Support from peers, providers, family, and members can make a significant difference in somebody's recovery and parenting journey. Parents share that community spaces help reduce isolation and shame. Feeling respected and believed strengthens confidence and stability and supports their long-term recovery at the end. So what does this look like? Our parents had a lot of different things they wanted to see, and so these were some of the big ones. So parents were clear about what they wanted moving forward. They wanted recovery-informed systems that understood substance use and healing, putting that first and foremost. They wanted non-judgment, trauma-aware support, and they wanted resources that included the whole family, not just the individual person. That shared decision-making around their children's well-being was specifically important to them. How can we involve those parents in those choices with their children to get them those chances whenever they can? That was like huge, just hearing from the amount of people that could have that little bit of impact in their kid's life, even if they're not with them at that time, meant a lot. So this left us to an opportunity for community. So when parents in recovery thrive, their children do too. I think this relates with many other things as well. Reducing stigma is not just a kindness, it's prevention at the end of the day. Creating family and recovery friendly options help reduce stigma, and parents want to be partners in solutions, and they bring their valuable lived experience to the table, which we'll see a little bit later as well today. So just a closing reflection, I just wanted to highlight this quote. When parents in recovery thrive, so do their children and the community. And so just think that with you as you leave here today and hear from our other stories, and know that you can make a difference no matter what that looks like to you, and supporting children and their families is prevention at the end of the day. And then if you would like the full report, you're welcome to download it here with this QR code. We otherwise have it at the health department available. So thank you.
So I'm Jolie from Apricity. I'm the president of residential treatment, and I'm going to moderate our panel. But before I do that, I just wanted to let you all know about a free support group that we have for anybody that's interested, of family members, friends, siblings, of anyone that has someone in their life that is struggling with substance use disorders. So this group is done virtually on the fourth Wednesday of every month. You do not need to be affiliated with anything whatsoever. You can just be you, and you can come in and you can listen if you want, you can talk if you want, you can turn your camera on, you can turn your camera off. You don't ever have to say a word. It's just a place for education. It's a place to be connected with other people that are walking the same path that you're walking. It's a place to ask questions if you have any questions, and it's just a place to belong. So there is a QR code here. If you click on that, or however that QR thing works. If you download that, it'll bring you to the sign-up page. You do have to sign up. I'm even okay if you put in a fake name. It doesn't matter to me, because I know sometimes that until you get comfortable, or until you feel like you belong, or whatever it is for you. But we do need you to sign up, so to speak, so we can send you the link. And then once you sign up once, you will get the link every single time. So it's a great program. It's probably way underutilized, and I encourage you all, if you have someone in your life that you might want to get a little support with, this is the place for you. So I am now going to call our panel up. We have 6 members that are going to tell their story, their recovery story, their journey in addiction. If you guys can come and take a seat, that would be great. And I like everyone to be comfortable, so if this arrangement, all being so close and in a straight line, doesn't work for you, feel free to move the chair. You guys good? Of this panel, how many are nervous? All right, let's just get that out of the way, right? I am too. I've never moderated a panel, so please bear with me if I stumble or fall. So I am going to introduce who we have here today. We have Jamie and her brother Jeff. Next to them, we have Austin and his dad Mike. And then on the end, we have Lou and her CPS worker Nick. So thanks, guys. So it's truly an honor to be here today, as I'm sure you guys have felt all the feels in the early session today. We're just connecting families, connection, hope. This panel brings together individuals and family members who have lived the realities of substance use and recovery. Thanks, Jennifer. And who are willing to share their experiences so that others don't have to navigate this journey alone. The stories offer honesty, perspective, and the kind of insight that only comes from living it. I will ask our panelists about their experiences, their challenges that they faced, and the help that they received along the way, and the lessons they've learned. Our hope is that these conversations inspire, inform, and offer hope to individuals and providers alike. We will also leave time at the end for audience questions. Please join me in welcoming the panelists. You guys good? All right. So we're going to start with you, Jeff. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and your recovery journey? Can you guys hear him?
Hello? There we go. All right, so my name's Jeff, and I am someone in long-term sobriety. I just celebrated 9 years not that long ago. Thank you. Being on this panel is an honor. Being the fact that I've been sober for 9 years, my family has like a lot of good memories about me. So it's a lot easier for them to be up here, opposed to if it was 9, 10 years ago. But I guess like for me, I always had this stigma that people in addiction come from like broken homes or bad families, things along those natures. My family was great, and I'm not just saying that because she's here. But I had a loving mother and father, and then my sister Jamie. We were born in Neenah, moved to Appleton, and at a young age, I gave them a really hard time. I gave them a run for their money. I got in trouble in school a lot. I got in fights. I got kicked out of school. Then I went to stealing cars. I stole my sister's car. And there's times in my story where I feel like my parents definitely enabled me. But there's also times that they practiced tough love. They weren't afraid to call the cops on me, let's say that. And thank God that they did, because it got me in touch with things that, gave me consequences, woke me up a little bit to like what I was doing. Right around that same age, around 13 or 14, I started experimenting with drugs, and I loved it right off the bat. And I followed that for quite some time. I think I celebrated my 16th birthday when I was in Winnebago Mental Health for the drug program that was there. But that was like a lot of my teen years. It was kind of rough, but it was all self-induced by myself. So I was in and out of group homes, foster homes, juvie jail. And I remember around the age of 17, I moved to Florida with a girl thinking that I could just get away from all this and I'd be better down there. And at times I did well. I got my GED, I got some jobs, I did some things, I had some good stuff in my life, went on some trips, but my disease was progressing, and I was starting to get into other stuff, and I started experimenting with Oxycontin and Percocet, and that progressed into cocaine and heroin and IV drug use eventually. So I stayed down there for 9 years, moved back home thinking maybe I could just get away from Florida and things would be different. And, during that time that I was in Florida, it gave my family a little bit of a break because, I think they thought I had it together for a little bit. I wasn't going to jail. I wasn't having the same consequences. So they got a little piece from that. But then what came back from Florida was a different animal. And it wasn't right from the jump, too, because I got married. I bought a house. I did some stuff that normal people would do. But shortly after that, I got divorced. And then when my son was born, I really wanted to stop altogether and be a different person. And I remember I went back to treatment, and I thought that it was, I thought that I was going to go to treatment. That was going to be my fix, and then I was going to move on for the rest of my life. That wasn't the case. I used shortly after treatment, and then I continued to use for about 8 years. And at the end of it, this is after a bunch of different treatment stays. I tried, Suboxone, methadone, all these different programs trying to get me right. And I'm not saying that they failed. I'm just saying it took all of that to get me where I needed to be. And then the last time that I used, I was arrested at my parents' house. I was tased, and I was sent to jail one last time, went to treatment one last time. And there was a part of me when I got into that treatment, I was going to think I've been to treatment a bunch of times. This isn't going to be any different, but it was. And it was, and I'm not saying that, definitely my family took a break from me, for sure. They had to step back, and they had to take care of themselves. But when I was ready to do the right thing, they all showed up there for me. And shortly after that, I got to start seeing my son. And then I transferred into the Oshkosh community, where I was met with open arms from an amazing recovery group. And I did some inner work, and I met some really good people and made some really good connections. And my life and the trajectory of what it was going on changed forever. You know, I'm a different person today because of recovery, because of the resources, because of my family being there for me when I needed them. You know, and today I have a dream job. You know, I get to help other people in jail and sober livings and be a part of the community. And I get to spend all my time with my son going on adventures, skiing and camping and just doing the stuff that we love. And that's essentially my little story there.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's give him a round of applause. So I'm not sure if Jennifer's still in here, but my first tears are in my eyes, and I don't cry very easily, so this is going to be great. Jamie, let's move to you. So from your perspective, as Jeff's sister, what was that time like for you and your family? I know you had some young children back then, and can you talk a little bit about what that was like for you?
Hello. Hi, my name is Jamie. So like he said, it was such a long time ago, but the hardest part about that is watching somebody that you love and that has such a bright personality, and when he comes, like today, everybody knows Jeff. Everybody knows when it walks into a room, he just brightens that all up, and that's how he was as a kid also. And to watch that slowly diminish and not even being able to recognize him way down the line, that was the hardest thing for me. So other feelings. So when he was younger, we really didn't talk much about it. Within our family, if you didn't talk about it, it wasn't really there. So by the time maybe he was in and out of treatment many times, maybe a few jails, we tried to find some help because we felt that we were doing wrong by him. Like, what are we doing wrong that we can't help him? Somebody that we love. Like, what can we do? So we went out. We did find an Al-Anon. We did some meetings. That's where I found out how to do boundaries. I didn't know anything about those, that it was okay to do. And then, like you said, I started having a family of my own, so I had to kind of break away, and I had 2 young girls I had to worry about. And, oh yeah, the boundaries. So my parents were not into boundaries. So they, at times, like as we were going on, and the cycle started, he went into jail, he got out of jail, we got him all the things that he needed, then he would start using, then he would go back to jail. So it happened probably, like I could tell you, like in the calendar, how many times, it probably 4 times. And so within that, my parents really wanted me to like talk to him about things and be there for him. And in my eyes, the disease was taking him already. Like, he didn't even know that he was with me, So for me to try to help him, I was just 22 years old on my own, So I don't know, but I could tell you many things. But so, like, let's say my parents wanted a family function. So we would go there. I would pack up my 2 kids, my husband. We would go to my family's house. My mom's like, Jeff's coming. He's doing really good. And great. I'm so excited. So we all get there. He was not well. So then we had to pack up everybody and leave. And my kids are crying because they want to be there. And my parents are mad that I'm taking them, but I can't. And that's when the boundaries came, where I had to tell my own parents that they couldn't babysit my kids. I couldn't trust. I didn't know when he would show up. They didn't know when he would show up or what kind of condition he would be in. So after this 4 times or so, I did finally, I don't want to judge my parents because I don't know what it would be like to have a kid going through this. So then we talk about anger. Was I angry at Jeff? Yes, I was angry. He ripped our whole family apart. But then it kind of somewhere in there shifted to my parents because they wouldn't stop it. Is it fair for me to say that to them? Probably not. But that's where it was landing. And then I finally talked to him about it, and I just remember we were sitting at Perkins one day, and they were like, you just don't understand. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I said, take all that money that you get him well, that you get him an apartment, a car, everything, just, because then it's easier for him. He can just worry about a job or whatever. I said, you need to take that money and just prolong his treatment. That's what he needs to be. He needs to be with people that understand him, that he can learn from. And here we are today. Not that I changed anything, but I'm just saying. So if you're wanting to say something to your parents, just say it, because at that point, you're just grabbing for straws.
So, Jamie, when you were younger, as an adolescent, how was that living in the house with him?
A mess. I had to call the cops plenty of times in the morning. My mom would try to get him up for school, and he was not doing good. So I had to call the cops and he would make fun of me. He would tell all my friends that, all these things, but it wasn't always bad. I sit up here and talk about those things, and that was the hardest part, because it's like, he's good, oh, he's good. But then obviously it changes.
All right. Thank you. Do you have... So I have a timekeeper in the corner over there, and she gave me the 5-minute mark, which I feel like we've been talking way more than that. But anyways, I know that some stories will go longer, some will go shorter, and I know there's going to be questions, so we'll move on. And you guys, is there anything else that you two would like to share before we move on?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Austin and Mike, welcome.
Check. I thought I was going to be singing a song. Is that not? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, actually, we were keeping that a secret.
Oh, okay.
That's for later.
Yeah. So this one's Austin, if you guys don't know him. Can you share a little bit about what your story is about and your recovery journey, what it has looked like over the last how many months, years?
So I have been sober for just over 15 months.
Awesome.
So not quite. I grew up near Coloma, Wisconsin, which is out in the middle of kind of this dead center of Wisconsin, over by like Watoma area. And I had two really loving parents. My mom's here as well. This is my dad, obviously. I'm the middle child, older brother, younger sister. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a firefighter. So didn't really have any of the adversity that would sort of like usually lead, you would kind of expect people to lead them to addiction. I kind of had every opportunity in the world. I never went without. And I am gay. And so, yeah, shocker. But when I was in high school, I graduated with about 60 kids. So very small, rural farm community. And I knew from a very young age that was the case, and kind of felt like I always had to be doing something to, I thought when I came out of the closet or something that everyone was going to not want to talk to me anymore, not be my friend. So I kind of got involved in everything. I was a 3-sport athlete. I was in student council. I was in the Spanish club. I was in band. I did a play. I was very involved. Because I felt like I had to constantly be doing something, because I just never felt like people would like me for me. And I always felt out of place. And then on top of that, my main sport was wrestling, and he was the coach. And I was really close with he was one of the coaches. I was really close with the head coach as well. And so I didn't touch drugs or alcohol until after my wrestling season, my senior year, when I was 17. So again, didn't start the super young age, but basically shortly after that, I started drinking and smoking weed, and pretty much blacked out or threw up or both every time I drank from then until the end of college. Pretty much never had an off switch. The goalpost was always moving. And also just really enjoyed the way that alcohol made me feel. I did end up going to the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, because I wanted to kind of move away, start over, because I thought all my problems were where I was from for some reason. And then obviously wherever you go, there you are. So the troubles kind of followed. And basically the next 5 years, because I took the long route through college and I didn't graduate, I just started this cycle of disappointing people, withdrawing from relationships. I would jump from like romantic relationship to romantic relationship. They were always very codependent, always centered around drinking, drugs use. And I always said I was on a lifelong journey to feel fully awake one time. So I was really into uppers. And I got really into Adderall, and thought that was helping me through college. And then slowly but surely, all of my grades started falling by the wayside. I stopped, being involved in things. And by the time I got to the end of college, I dropped out because I was really depressed and was living with an ex who was my ex at the time. So kind of blamed everything on all the people around me always as well. And then tried meth for the first time because, after doing Adderall for a while, I thought that seemed like the next reasonable step. So started doing methamphetamine and pretty much never stopped after I started. Things started kind of falling apart. I moved home to Wisconsin briefly, and then COVID happened, and I was, using while I was living at home in secret, usually not at the house, was kind of finding people to use with, not coming home for days at a time, kind of bouncing from job to job. And then got laid off from my job, ended up moving to New York City because we were getting all of that lovely stimulus money. And I was like, oh, I'll move, once again, I'll move far away, start over, everything will be great there. And that's where my meth use really hit a peak, I guess. Within about 8 months, I was hospitalized twice within 2 weeks and was committed. Was on the 54th floor of Mount Sinai in Manhattan after having a couple really extreme bouts of psychosis. And that was when my parents kind of found out the extent of my drug use for the first time. And I moved home after that, basically dropped everything to come see me. Oh, I'm afraid.
Austin.
Yeah.
Let's let your dad pick it up from there. Is
Okay,
that okay?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, my experience, different perspective, obviously. Austin was, we were a very close family. He has an older brother and a younger sister. And it was always laughter. We were always very involved. My wife and I were so lucky, had the family we wanted. We're happy they got along. We're very involved in everything. And I thought I had done everything right as a parent. We talked, involved, listened, provided, we were there. He also grew up and he was an adult, so I thought I was done. I did my job. Now it's time for them to go, and they've always made good choices. So he came out to us before he went off to college. So obviously we had some fears, just protection more as a parent. Is he safe? Is he going to be attacked? Is he, is he going to be shunned from life? Fears as a parent. So, all we ever heard from Minneapolis, things are good, and great, he's thriving, it's his turn. It's time for us to move on with our life. We have one more to get out of the house, and everything was going. Luckily, he had some friends he doesn't even realize, called my wife at one time, got his number, did what a 20-something will do and say, please don't ever tell him I told you, but I don't think he's in school anymore. We're like, what? That doesn't make sense. And then within the same week, someone else called. I don't think he's going to his job anymore. And we're like, what? And so we were always close. So I called and finally, got him to open up, talk to me, and finally got him to say, yeah, I'm not in school, not this. I just thought it was depression. Brought him home. We're going to pep talk, get him ready to go, and he'll be fine. And that led to a long stretch. I couldn't get him out of bed. We were seeking professional help, like therapists and all that. We didn't know what to do. He did this, I'm going to go to New York. My wife and I said, well, there's no way it's going to work. She's like, he can't go. I said, he's an adult. He's going to have to try it. He was seeing some therapists. We just thought it was mental health. I woke up at 5 a.m. to a doctor in the ER in New York City saying, are you his dad? Yes. Does he use drugs? I'm like, no. Laughed in my face and basically hung up, or said, here's a number, rattled it off, and I'm in my bed half asleep, didn't get the number. And we spent over a week trying to even get in touch with him, found him in a psych ward, got him released to us. My wife always wanted to see New York City, so we got to do it in about a 1-hour trip. Drove through the night both ways. But got him home with all the New York laws. We had to have an addiction specialist. He had to have a therapist, but it's COVID, so everything was virtual. And, okay, you're here in your door. And we basically were the rehab. We took off of work, and we stayed there and make sure he made every appointment, and things were getting better. He's back to work, but he just wouldn't move on. And we just kept thinking, okay, he needs more help. We were new to this. We just thought, well, this is mental health because you already fixed the drug stuff. He talked to somebody. It's better. So we now feel so ignorant, stupid. We were enablers, didn't even know it just because he lived with us. He financially ruined us. Like, we were co-signing student loans. They became our bills. We fed him. Things just kept getting worse, worse, worse. This went on and on and on. And my wife and I were not good. Our family is not good. His brother and sister were not good with him. They weren't good with us because why are you spending time, all this effort on him? It affected the whole family. And I'm super tough, so if I cry, just ignore it. I'd lost hope for him. And I thought, there's no one who's ever going to be able to understand or help us. And this is just it. It's going to be her and I trapped in a house with him forever till whoever dies first. And I was doing really good. He's been doing great. This whole thing's been great. And I got here today, and this community is amazing. And I'm running into everybody that's helped them, from Faith at Harbor. She's sitting right here in the front. Finally found somebody that understood it. And she let Austin and Nova. Sadie's back there. Anyway, I see Patrick back there from Blandine. This guy, Solutions. And it's amazing. All these people wrap their arms around him and my family. And what you guys do is amazing. I'm sorry.
Let's give him a round of applause. I didn't know you guys had.
That's yours.
I didn't know you guys had. They don't have. Should we switch? Okay. Can you guys somebody take their mic off and hand it down to them, please?
Yeah.
Click that on your collar. I can. You'll talk through here. You'll talk through here. Can you guys hear this? Yes. That's just to pick it up for the video. All right. Okay. Thank you. So we have Lou here with us with Nick, who is her past CPS worker. So we'll start with Lou. Lou, can you tell us a little bit about your story and what led you to recovery?
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me? My name is Lou, and I'm an addict. So I will be celebrating 7 years clean in October. Yes. So I'm an identical twin, and my twin and I, we were actually given up for adoption, well, forcibly removed from our parents when we were around age 3, in and out of foster cares, the system. And my paternal grandma eventually adopted us and had raised us to the best that she could, gave us everything we could ever need and want. Graduated high school. I then went on to college. And I did not start drinking until I was 21. Actually, I did smoke a little weed in my adolescence, but I had never drank alcohol until I was 21. And while I was going to UWGB, I received my bachelor's degree. I had double majored in psychology and First Nation studies with a minor in human development, and I had discovered Adderall. So it was, for me at the time, it was an amazing discovery. And I had also discovered other prescription pain medications, some opiates. And so I was going through life and I was, doing the best that I can. Started drinking at the age of 21. And the most interesting aspect of it is, how quickly my disease had progressed, right? Because without having drank until the age of 21, well, within 6 to 7 short years, I was shooting heroin and meth, right? So the nature of my disease had progressed rapidly. And I had started after I got my bachelor's degree, I went to UW Milwaukee, and I received a post-baccalaureate certification in early childhood education. And so I taught Head Start. I went and taught for 2 years, and while I was teaching, I was also using these prescription medication. And over the course of, it was a summer, I had shot meth for the first time. I was supposed to go back to teaching for my 3rd year, but I had shot meth, and I was like, well, that's not happening. I'm not going to teach anymore. And eventually, I had a son, and eventually I signed over my parental rights to my identical twin. And I thought, he's in good hands. He'll never know the difference. I thought that everything was going to be okay, and I was just going to die high, essentially, right? In my mind, I had made up that decision, I'll never be clean. I'll never be a mother. I'll never again be a contributing member of society. And I had tried to go to treatment, and I went in high. I brought drugs into the facility. It was in Koinonia up north. And then I got, I believe, an alternative to revocation, right? Because I had got caught using. And they said, hey, you can have this ATR, this alternative to revocation, go to treatment. I was like, okay, I wanted to be clean. I just didn't know how to get clean. I didn't know how to stay clean. And I went back into jail, and I eventually would end up in SEG, right? Solitary confinement. And I, when I was in there, I was like, this is not for me. This is not where I belong. This is not, these are not my people. This is not my space. And I wanted to get clean. I just didn't know how to do it, right? I was just so lost. I was operating in this survival mode, just basic instincts, right? Doing anything and everything I had to survive. And so I got out, and my familial support was not, it was very, very strained. It was very taxed. I didn't have support, essentially. And I had reached out to Casa Claire, and I wanted to go to Appleton. So I was out of jail for 5 days, and within 5 days, I did get into Casa Claire, and I got clean. And I was there for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and eventually COVID happened. And they said, okay, you can either leave, successfully complete the program, or you can stay, and go into the apartments. And I said, well, I want to stay, I want this new way of life. I want to be clean. I want, something different, right? I don't want to be in jail anymore. So then I went into the apartment program, and my son ended up back into the system. And I never wanted that for him. I wanted to break that cycle, but here I was perpetuating that cycle of just, being in the system. And so he was back in the system, and then I met Nick, and he was working with CPS. And they said, you have this opportunity to essentially form a relationship with my son, because he didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was as, this human being. And so I started driving to Green Bay from Appleton, which is a half an hour, in the morning to get him ready for school because he was with my brother, who is really my cousin, but he's my cousin brother. Yeah, 'cause we were all adopted by my grandparents. So I was driving to Green Bay in the morning to get him ready for school, to get him ready for daycare, take him to daycare, then I drive back to Appleton, go to work, and then I would drive back to Green Bay to pick my son up to get him ready for bed, right? And then, my brother had 4 or 5 kids of his own, and he said, I can't do this anymore. This is becoming too much. It's too much for me. So, my counselor at Casa Clare, I was in the CCAP program, the Casa Clare apartment program. And my counselor, Noelle, said, we think that you're ready. And I said, wait, no, I'm not ready. I didn't believe in myself, and she believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And she said, we're going to staff it. So they got together and they staffed it, and they said, okay, he can come and stay with you, and CPS will, cover the bill, and he'll be like a little mini client. So, and he did, he did come to the groups with me, and I was afraid, right? Because I didn't know how to be a human being, a mother, let alone a mother. And so Nick actually helped me a lot. Like when he came to stay with me, CPS, they bought this bed because it had to have rails. And then when we eventually moved into our own apartment, I didn't have a bed. I put everything in garbage bags, and but we had our own home, and CPS actually helped buy him a dresser and buy him a bed, and we slept on his bed for the first month of living on our own. And they also helped with the Children's Long-Term Support program and this PALS program, who would offer support for me in that parenting, because I still struggle and I still have contact with all of those programs.
So yeah, let's turn it over to Nick. Nick, can you talk a little bit about what it was like from your perspective, watching Lou go through the things and the help that you guys were able to give her?
Yep. So just as an ongoing case manager at the time, my role was working with individuals who a lot of times were still actively using. So it was an interesting case with Lou where she was already clean and working on her recovery. And I guess I was just incredibly kind of taken aback by how motivated she was, with willing to drive all the way from Appleton to Green Bay every single morning to take him to school, get him ready, and then to go drive back to Appleton, work, get done with work, drive back to Green Bay to get him from school, and then get him back to where he had been staying. And she did that on a constant basis every single day. And that just was amazing to see, because a lot of times, unfortunately, when I would have other families, I would have difficulty getting one parent to come to a visit that was one day a week, that we got a volunteer driver to get. So just the dedication, the motivation that she had was just incredible to see. And just that kind of transferred over into a lot of other facets that I felt she went through our time together.
So you're no longer in the CPS world, but you and Lou are still connected. What is that like for you?
It's been pretty amazing. She's reached out to me and has kind of shared kind of just her continued recovery, and it's been amazing to see her son just grow into a pretty cool kid, and the hard work that she's done with it and still maintains. It's, again, as a CPS worker, we always have this kind of in the back of our head, like something's going to give, something's going to get to a point where it's going to shatter. And it's been so incredibly amazing to see her continue moving forward. And I've since moved roles. I'm a law enforcement officer now, so all the more reason it's been amazing to see. So.
Thank you. Let's give these guys a round of applause.